Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the first podcast for Creole Poetry. I am your host, Rico D, and welcome to Midday Poetry. This is just a trial run to see how this podcast will go. We've been trying out different ones unsuccessfully, so we'll see how this does. Again, this is Midday Poetry with your host, Rico D. So, for this broadcast, I am going to tell you that I have been at war with Facebook and the various poetry groups and how they do selective censorship. And I've been real vocal about it. And I've been kicked out of a lot of groups. And it is the reason why I started Unapologetic and Uncensored, my own private group on Facebook. So this is one of two pieces that are extremely new. And we're just going to try them out to see how they do on the podcast. So here we go. Social media could be good or bad. But what's sad is when moderators and admins decide what poems get in a group is where freedom of expression ends and selective censorship begins. How many poems haven't seen the light of day because they rub you the wrong way? I will say far too many, because plenty of people's pupils are dilated as corneas become clouded, so they don't see the beauty in some poets' poetry. And because they don't know how to agree to disagree and let the words be free, it's sad to say that a lot of poetry goes MIA. Resorting back to this, they quickly dismiss poetry that doesn't fit their criteria. This is simply called selective censorship. The job of a moderator or admin is to protect the poet's pen from inappropriate comments or critiques that are destructive, not constructive. It's not for you to decide what poetry to hide. I guess I digress, because on FB, selective censorship is a reality. But again, the First Amendment apparently doesn't extend to FB moderators and admins. And so, as you can see, I'm a little salty about the things that are happening in Facebook. Here's another one to drive home that point. I thought that I let you know that there is no room for egos in poetry group. So cut the rope from the tree and just let the words swing naturally and sway like black men when they were hung by their necks back in the day, or flow like a river. It's the words that we delivered that makes the lies shiver and quiver. I thought I'd let you know that there's no room for egos in a poetry group, so cut the rope from the tree and just let the words swing naturally and be uncensored and unapologetically free. Like the sea's journey to the ocean. See, too many rules extinguishes the fuel that ignites the fire and passion in poetry. So all I'm asking is this. Leave the politics in the writing while igniting and fighting, while shedding light on the many topics. Just let the muse flow, while stop it only to knock it, because some can't let it go of their egos, as excessive moderation adds to the situation. While I'm not exactly a fan of poetry slams per se, because it seems that sometimes it's the judges' scores that can take the passion away. Or your post has to be approved by admin. So where does freedom to express oneself begins and censorship ends? Does a First Amendment protect our pens, or does that depend on the group that I'm in? And or whether my words offend? I can't pretend poetry is supposed to transcend men, but that's not happening. Many won't let go of their egos, while many groups on FB won't let the words flow freely. They have excessive rules and moderation as to the situation. So you know that I, too, have an ego. See, on FB, my group is unapologetic and uncensored. Poets in my group are free to write about whatever it is. True. No restrictions. That is what's missing from most groups. So I've cut that rope from the tree and just let the words swing naturally and sway like black men when they were hung by their necks back in the day, or flow like a river. It's the words that we deliver that makes lives shiver and quiver. I thought I'd let you know that there is no room for egos in a poetry group. So there you have it. Again, this is Midday Poetry. I'm your host, Rico D. And what else I want to see? What else I want to tell you? Let's see. And I'm going to do one more for this trial run. It says, I need you to know that if your superhero is Jim Crow, that I'm willing to be the villain in that scenario. So let's keep it real. You think that rescuing Negroes is a heroic indeed, still under the disguise and doctrine of democracy? We were never meant to be free or rescued. It seems that the issues have been misconstrued. So I've been told when it comes to black souls, their need to make us bleed is how they succeed as they plant the seeds of hate until they germinate into trees, lynching people who look like me under the lies of democracy, hiding their identities under white sheets and blue uniforms, only adds to the hypocrisy, only to perform rescue missions. When some of us go mission still today, we are looking for the heroes of Emmett Till. As we are hanging on to windowsills, waiting for windows to open because doors remain closed, as opportunities for minorities are limited in scope. As our hope is diminished by the rope that squeezes against our throats. See, I might be the kryptonite to end this fight, because a villain like me is willing to kill those heroes and shed blood until they all dead. Since villains wear black, it's a fact that since I was born black, naturally I'm a bad guy. That is something you can't deny, so why try? So the storm is brewing, and I have been doing this for almost 50 years. So again, this is a trial podcast, and we are just trying out just different platforms to get poetry out there to the people. Again, thanks for listening. And as once I've heard somebody say, aim for the heavens. If you miss, then you'll still be amongst the stars. Peace and hair grease. This is Midday Poetry, where I'm your host, Rico D. Thanks.